Hello, Libby Gray, lighting designer and lighting director for Stix, back with you again for a second segment shot on the same day. Astute viewers will notice it's the same hotel room and t-shirt as the last one I shot. But I have a few items that have been suggested by friends and trusted enemies that don't really fit into any of the topics I had planned to cover. So I just thought I'd touch on them briefly in a little segment all by itself. Number one, whether I mentioned it in another segment or not, make sure the house checks the follow spots every day. And by check them, I mean strike them and check for mechanical problems. If you're indoors, ask them to line all the struck follow spots up on a wall where you can see them. You can pick the dimmest ones and assign them accordingly. Or maybe there's time to get someone in to work on them. But take an actual look at them if you can. Sometimes you can't outdoors. Make sure they're all struck. Because if a follow spot doesn't work at the top of the show, that's you in the dressing room explaining why you didn't check it out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. On the other hand, if you did check it out and that same follow spot blows up at the top of the show, you can go into the dressing room with a light heart and a clear conscience and say, yes, we checked them all during the day. They're just follow spots. Sometimes gear fails. Comm is the same way. Make sure it's checked every day, directly from each follow spot to front of house, not just their booth, not just dimmer beach. Make sure all the positions speak directly to front of house. That's super important, and it will save you a lot of grief at the top of the show. Every time I start to get lazy and omit this step, it bites me in the ass sooner and harder than I would like. So check the comm. Don't be as dumb as I am. I've also been asked, as a different topic, have you ever run a follow spot? Yes, I have. The first time I ever got paid to do anything with lighting, I ran a follow spot for a high school dance recital, and I was 15 years old. So that was my first paid lighting money. And I ran follow spots throughout high school and college, and then of course that stopped when I went on the road right after college. That was the end of my follow spot career. But I'm really glad I did, because it gave me a good idea of how follow spots work. And honestly, there aren't that many different types of follow spots. It's not like that universe of moving lights. And it's important to know how they work. The thing it's biggest help with, I find, is knowing that since different lights have different mechanics, they need different standbys, just slightly different amounts of time. But, for example, if you are asking people to do a color change on a Super Trooper and a color change on a particular type of Robert Joliet, you are going to give the people running the Joliets more time. Why? Because they change their color very differently than all the other follow spots. How are they different? That I will allow you to figure out for yourself, young Padawan learner. But go put your hands on a Robert Joliet follow spot, and a Lycian, and a Strong. Check them all out. It'll help. The other thing it helps with, as improbable as this sounds, is you may be able to help someone troubleshoot. It's not often that an LD can offer any useful advice to a follow spot. They're very much more familiar with how those lights work and what they need. But, occasionally you get a brand new operator who's flailing around a little bit up there, and you can simply say, you're trying to sharpen your edge up there. Are you trying to move the trombone? That's the handle on the side of the light. It may be locked. If you give that handle a quarter turn, you may loosen it, and now you'll see it's, there you go, now you got it. That kind of thing. This is something that only happens when you're using an operator who's basically on a light for the first time, but you can help them. The first time someone runs a follow spot, it can be pretty intimidating and overwhelming. So a friendly voice with a little helpful suggestion can do wonders. I've also had the operator who accidentally, on a Lycian, managed to close both the shutter and the dowser at the same time. And then, of course, they're squawking into the headset, "My light's out, there's no light." And I turn around and look, and of course I can see that the lamp is still struck. But if I hadn't put my hands on a 1275, I wouldn't know to say to the operator, okay, there are 3 black round knobs on the top of that light. Shove all 3 of them away from you. Now there's going to be light coming out, because I know that opens the dowser and the shutter and the iris. And then you can talk them through whatever corrections you need. But you wouldn't know what to say that if you hadn't actually put your hands on that follow spot. So again, I encourage you to get just a basic rudimentary familiarity with the controls on a light, because you can help somebody from time to time. And that's about it for today. All right, see you next time.